Hi, friends. I have Op-Zero with me.
That's Steel Fairy. And this is our Star Wars The Force Awakens! Yeah! Finisher. Hey guys, how's it going?
That was fun.
So we just got back, obviously we went on a date again to go see another big movie of the year. We just saw The Force Awakens. Right now we're not gonna... I'll awaken something. But we just finished seeing the movie a couple hours ago. We've let thoughts sink in.
He can't speak.
I can. The Star Wars trilogy was pretty huge to me as a
Lad.
kid. It made up a lot of my childhood. I was originally shown it. I was about, I think it was 10 or 11. My mom's now ex-boyfriend at the time gave me the original trilogy to watch just to see if I liked it, and I picked it up immediately, and I watched it so many times as a kid. I mean, my mom encouraged it. There were times when she'd come over, it's like, you've seen it 6 times this week.
You're shaking
really?
the camera.
But I'm not as huge into it to say that I'm a closet Star Wars nerd and I obsess over everything about it. I love the original trilogy movies, and I have my own gripes about the prequel trilogy. Sorry, she has me like sitting halfway on the bed here, lopsided and stuff. I can't really tell where I am in position relative to this. That's why I'm looking at all kinds of different spots.
And you keep shaking the camera. But, yeah.
I have my own love of the series from things that I've seen. What about you? What were your origins with Star Wars?
Well...
I mean, I know your family's more of a Trekkie.
Kind of. I actually saw it because of my dad. It was, I think, on TV at one point. Like, there was a marathon of all the movies or whatever, so I remember watching it. I remember not really being into the prequels because it was very heavy on, like, just dialogue and explaining, like, political stuff. I rewatched them when I got older and got a little bit more into it. I still don't get why people hate Jar Jar so much. I don't know. I guess I think annoying characters are kind of funny.
Needs to love you long time. It's demanded by the gods, it is.
Yeah, if I didn't like annoying characters, I probably wouldn't be with him. You know I love you. But anyway. Yeah, but as for the original trilogy, yeah, I liked them. Like a lot of kids, you know, I saw them and I got really into the adventure of it and the characters, and yeah. That's my origins. I don't really remember how old I was when I first saw them because I was really, really young.
She's a... I was in high school while she was still in... What did we figure?
Elementary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just into 9th grade and she was just getting out.
He's like 5.5 years older than me, so...
Steel Fairy likes watermelon.
That has nothing to do with the original trilogy.
That has nothing to do with it.
They came out a while before
they did,
existed,
both of us. So we're not as huge into it for those reasons, but also we still... Sorry, I'm kind of using my feet to kind of General Grievous style juggle my lightsaber, just to bide my time. But we each have our own appreciation to the series.
I
I'm more
obviously like
Star
the dark
Wars.
side.
I'm more Star Wars. She's more Star Trek, but we both love
I'm
Star
more
Wars.
Lord of the Rings.
Well, yeah, definitely. Lord of the Rings is good. You can't deny those films or the books. They're amazing. The Hobbit movies, they had some issues. Um,
Yeah, the first one was kind of
Legolas
slow.
bullshit.
I thought
Legolas.
that was funny.
It was funny, but Legolas bullshit.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we will be discussing bullshit that occurs in this movie. It's not all going to be gripes like this. But overall thoughts, honestly, I really love the movies. No spoilers yet, still, but I loved how it paid homage in the perfect ways, which I'll discuss later in the video. But I felt it felt like a Star Wars movie more than the prequels did.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you could have skipped 1 and 2 of the prequels and watched 3 and maybe the animated series and been just fine.
Yeah, you could kind of gather
Minus
a
the
lot.
Qui-Gon thing, that was
Important.
important, but not something that could be missed. What about you? What were your feelings?
Obviously I really liked it. I went to the theater in semi-cosplay, and there were a few times during the movie where, like, I felt like I wanted to cry, and I was like, no, no, my makeup will smear.
Yes,
We'll get more into that later as
I know
well.
on the camera right now, this eye looks a little weird. It's actually kind of almost reddish, like her.
Yeah, I didn't
the,
do this black.
Yeah, she was trying to go for an offside thing. I noticed in the camera that looked a little weird. Figured I'd point that out. She's wearing
Next time I do it, I'm gonna move these up to here and these up to here, because I feel like
You don't really see them
we
enough.
definitely liked a lot and felt there was enough open-endedness that we definitely both want to see the next one.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Disney.
They
there
left
was
a
the-
lot of mystery in this movie, and
Yes.
I feel like they're going to explain it a lot more in the next movie, which I'm fine with. I actually like that more.
On top of that, one big thing, also spoilers will start at like the 10-minute mark about, one big thing that occurred in the movies, well, didn't occur actually, that I absolutely loved that it didn't occur. Thank you, my head's even more off camera.
You keep shaking the camera.
I'm
I'm
gonna have to
sorry.
move back a little bit, sorry. There we go. How's this? Do I seem a little bit centered now?
Finish your sentence.
I planned on it.
So, the thing is, I will shake the camera if I feel like it. I know that's bugging you. Shaky, shaky, shaky.
Well, I
shaky,
just don't want the
shaky.
microphone to pick it up.
The force is with me. Shake.
Finish your sentence.
Um,
He gets distracted very easily.
Squirrel. Um, the Marvel movies do this, and it makes some sense, and they can, be entertaining. There was not a single touch of Disney that we noticed. Like, you could...
False. The humor I felt was very Disney-like.
Yes, but the humor also fit well.
Yes,
But it
fit
wasn't-
into Star Wars.
But it wasn't humor about Disney stuff. Like in Ant-Man, when he's whistling quietly, it's a small world. That
I don't remember that. The big one I
when
remember.
the Hispanic guy
The big
was
one I
talking-
remember pissing me off was in the second Avengers movie, Age of Ultron, where they were playing that stupid Pinocchio song, like...
Yeah, it's just the no strings, some of those kind of things.
Yeah, that was really lame, and
It
I'm
was
glad they didn't do
lame,
anything like
but like stuff like that was not done, which was definitely a positive. So we're definitely giving this a positive review. However, from this point forward, if you have not seen the movies, we're going to go ahead and ask that please close the window, come back a little bit later, pick up and watch it after you've seen it, because we really don't want to spoil it, because there's things that you'll love and you won't love if they're spoiled. It won't have the same effect. With that being said, 3, 2, 1. Any chances you had at missing spoilers
Gone.
is gone. Kylo Ren's real name is Ben, and he's Obi-Wan. He's named after Obi-Wan, and he's Han Solo's son, and he kills Han Solo. And
Also Leia's son.
Also Leia's son.
The ship is confirmed.
It pisses me off how they did it, because
This is one of his negatives.
this is my biggest negative. Largest. There is none that came close. There is no way Han Solo would have willingly, just easily like that, with how obviously fake he was being, to walk across a long platform with no guardrails, no nothing.
It was obvious he was going to die.
It was so obvious that he was going to die.
It was like a big, long, skinny bridge over a death pit. I was like...
Yes, and his son was like, "Oh, I will change. I can do this for you." And it's just
I was like, bullshit.
Bull. And that right there, it's near the end. That's big gripe there.
Yeah, Han is the new Obi-Wan. The death that had to happen.
It was the death that had to happen, and if he has parts in the other movies, it'll obviously be flashbacks. Maybe he'll come back as like, Han Solo's long-lost brother. Kind of, hopefully not. Please, let's not. Hopefully.
I don't think they would do that.
I really hope they don't.
That would be terrible writing.
Flashbacks, it would make sense. But, unfortunately, from this point on, he's dead, but I just don't think with how smart Han Solo... Well, he was...
He was cunning. Not really smart.
Cunning, not really smart, sorry. I realized I had the wrong word there, but...
I get you. I'm a writer, I find the right words.
I just don't feel he would have fell for it as easy as it was, even though it was his son. But there was one thing about that scene that I really liked as a touch. When he died and his hand just gently was like, instead of, being Han Solo and just saying, "You know what, I'm going down," it was...
And he didn't say anything. He was just like looking at him and just...
The reaction was just...
Yeah, and then he was like...
It was just a look down of...
And fell over the side.
It was a sudden realization that my son's killed me, but at the same time, I still forgive my son.
There was also the weight of, Leia saying, "Bring him back to us," kind of thing, and
yeah,
also,
that definitely affected.
There was a lot in that one motion. It was like, my son, there's still hope for you, but then there was also, I failed Leia, and then there was also, like, I'm dead.
It was very detailed on that aspect, but at the same time, they drew out him walking across and being fooled like that way too long. I just feel like they could have cut like 30 seconds of that out, and it would have had just as much impact.
And have 30 more seconds of Luke.
Yes. Luke appears.
He was so mad. Luke was only in the movie for like 50 seconds and he didn't say a word.
A one-liner. We could have at least had a one-liner and then cut to credits. Like that. Instead it was just...
I was more upset...
This is literally it.
Yeah. I get you.
Cut the black.
I was more upset over a missed opportunity for like a really epic moment at the end where they left off at a cliffhanger where the main character, Rey, is like holding out Luke's lightsaber to him and he's just like staring at her. I thought it would be cool if he like force called his lightsaber to him and it hit his hand and then the movie ended there. That would have been cool, but...
True, but at the same time, I myself don't feel that would have been the right thing there. Just...
Sorry, I have something caught in my throat. Continue.
Just because, honestly, I could tell he obviously recognized it was his lightsaber. You could see in his eyes that it was, I recognize that. That's
Well, yeah.
mine. That's my father's. Wait. And it was all the different things, all the different emotions coming around, the realization what has been going on, what is happening.
Where did you get that?
There's going to obviously be some interesting things happening. I have an interesting theory about how the next one basic theory, one interesting theory that we'll discuss later that involves how the next one starts. But beyond that, really, that was my biggest gripe. I didn't really have any major gripes besides that one. Everything else just fit, you know? I know you had one other gripe that you wanted to mention.
Yeah, so, I actually didn't. Well, okay. I kind of liked it, kind of didn't. Basically, after Han Solo gets killed and everything, they go back to the Resistance base, and R2-D2 was there, and he was shut off for a while. Stop it!
I'm force mimicking you.
And
Sorry,
that
screen
was
goes
weird.
black. It randomly does
Randomly, yeah.
that. Her laptop has some issues. We're doing this on the laptop cam, obviously.
Oh. But anyway, so anyway, he had been shut off for a while, and even C-3PO was like, oh, he's been like that ever since Master Luke left, and he may not ever come back, blah, blah, blah. And then after Han Solo gets killed off, and they return to the base, R2-D2 just magically turns back on. I think it would make sense if, like, there was the Force, like, behind that where, like, it was his time to turn on so that he could help them find Luke, blah, blah, blah. That makes sense for the Force to be involved in that, but I felt that R2-D2 coming back was a little forced. Get it? But anyway, it just felt like...
Yes, it was definitely a different kind of awakening.
It just felt like, oh, kids, I know you're sad about Han Solo being dead, but no, it's okay, be happy. Look, R2-D2's come back on, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, it just felt kind of...
Yeah, I read an article after that
Bad timing.
was with JJ talking about this exact scene, about why he did it the way he did, and about how R2 has the plans. She didn't read the article because she still wanted to voice her gripe without, having it
ruined
by anything else. And first off, machines really don't feel the Force, sweetie. It's like not a big thing. It surrounds everything, binds everything, but I don't think robots have ever really been included in that. I mean, yeah, mechanical limbs and things like that, yes.
It's in everything.
Yes, but
Doesn't have to be living.
I don't think R2 has connection with the Force that way.
I'm not saying he's connected with the Force. I'm saying because Luke was involved with the situation and what was happening at the time, that the Force sort of allowed it to happen where he would wake up again.
Well,
the Force works in mysterious ways.
True, but the actual explanation from JJ is a lot simpler than that.
Well, I like my explanation.
Well, I got you, but I'm just going to put this into your thoughts. With how old your laptop is and how long it takes to start, think about that. Now think of how old R2 is. R2 technically is a unit that's been around since the very beginning of the series, back in the prequels. And if you think about it, at least around 100 years have passed. When... what's the new robot's name again?
I think it's BBA.
The BBA unit, which also I love that character. I'm going to talk about that in a second.
Yeah,
but
he's
when
cute.
the BBA unit creeped up and just bumped him and was like, "Hey, I got this piece of map. Do you have it?" Well, JJ in Tales, he wanted to go to the show route instead of tell route with that. which usually is the way you want to go, which was why I believe she easily comes to that misconception that was as forced as it was. R2-D2, back in the time when he originally accessed the Death Star mainframe back then, because R2 units have just such large memory banks, R2 was able to store the information of the Jedi archives and all kinds of other data way back then. Which is why Luke would have been able to go to certain places that not many people would have known about easily. Because honestly, those places would have been known about way back, before the Empire really took over. Like, they could have been somewhat knowledge to the Jedi and the Sith. But then afterwards, do you really think the Sith Lord Darth Sidious would have allowed that to be common knowledge? No, that would become hidden. However, he would still keep the information around if necessary, because destroying the information needlessly has no point. He was very much a to-the-point type of person. He did things for a reason. And he kept those plans around. R2 was able to access them. Luke hid pieces of that information around, wants pieces given to other people. Part of the remainder of it was inside of R2. When the PBA unit creeped up, it was hey, I have this information, do you have it? We go into the mention of the long shutdown. That long shutdown was more of a robot version of grief, effectively, because honestly, you could tell R2 has some basic forms of emotion, at least.
Definitely.
At least basic. At least, at the very minimum.
So did the BB-8 unit.
Yes, so did the BB-8 unit. That's something that they did include. I think
Star Wars makes their droids very human.
Human-like, yes. Not really the best idea in some things, but
Like in Mega Man?
R2 somewhat like Mega Man. But the thing is, with R2 suffering from that grief, he went into that lower power mode. And, well, when you're in a low power mode, like her laptop, if she puts it in that, it's going to take a while to start up. And the way they mention that is, if you think about it, when that unit bumps in, and between the time of then and when the Death Star blows, the superplanetary, massive, destroying Death Star, because we don't remember the name of it. But when that thing
more like
blew
a death.
up, yeah, when between the time and all of that, it wasn't a lot of actual physical time that had occurred, which really what he mentions is that literally was just R2 booting up after that little information exchange of, hey, I have this information, do you have the remaining amounts of it? And that's what happened. That's what caused him to reboot.
That's
it was just
really dumb explanation.
It was a long reboot because R2's just so old of a unit that it just takes forever. Old hardware takes forever.
I like the Force explanation better.
I'm not gonna lie.
That one's kind of dumb.
It's a little dumb, but when you think about it, if you think about it in the way our computers work these days, older computers do take a lot longer to start up. The more that's on them, the more memory, the more things. An R2 unit taking 15, 20 minutes, half an hour to boot back up, I could believe that, especially if it's almost 100 years old. I mean, you'd think, if your laptop right now in front of you, or your desktop, or your phone was 100 years old, do you think that thing's starting up immediately? No,
I don't care.
That's going to take a while.
It's still dumb reasoning. I don't care.
I know.
Really dumb.
I know. I understand that.
So that's still a gripe for me, because that's dumb reason.
It's still a gripe with her, and I can understand why. To me, that reasoning, it removed that gripe for me. It was originally going to be a small one, like, forced plot shoved, R2 has the remaining piece. But no, now, to me, it makes sense why that took so long, because in the grand scheme of things, that wasn't a lot of time actually happening there. The only other gripe that I had remaining really comes down to, honestly, just the science around it being hokey at best. When the planet blew up, a star of exactly forming in its place, Honestly, I think like a black hole or some kind
You
of thing.
think Star Wars is supposed to be scientifically accurate?
No, that's why I said it's a small grape.
Yeah.
Small. Okay.
Very.
Do you really think a
No
laser
one
beam
watches
was shot
Star
at me?
Wars to be
I, with the
scientifically
force that is
accurate.
will, would just be like, boom! No, that beam is not going to hit me. Speaking of which, that was absolutely badass, and that
Yeah, I thought that was
set the tone.
cool.
That was like, it was just suddenly, whoop, and the entire theater was.
This movie does a good job of showing off the different powers
Of
that you
the
have
Force.
yeah, with the Force. Because, like, at the very beginning, it's really cool because they shoot a blaster shot at the villain and he's just like, stops it
He's
in
like,
midair.
he doesn't even, it's not even like a slow reaction, it's just instantaneous, no.
Like, it doesn't, okay, he doesn't exactly stop it in midair and it explodes. No, the blaster shot is still there. It's like
It's
a
just
little
sitting there, it's
laser.
just like, bzz. It's just like,
Yeah,
I'm sitting here, ain't going
and then
anywhere.
and then when he
Walk-
leaves, it's really great because then it moves again and it
Yeah,
hits the fountain
he
where
waits.
he
He
was
waits
standing.
a few moments, and after he walks away, like about 2 or 3 seconds, shoots away and startles Finn, which Finn,
Hey,
let's go on an
we'll get-
adventure.
We'll get to Finn later because that's one of the good things I want to talk
It
about.
startles him, but also if you looked in the background, it also startled the other stormtrooper behind him from the First Order. Was like, huh, and just points his gun over in that direction, like, what was that? But he was more startled because he knew what was going on. The other one was like, so that's one thing the movie does keep to, and I loved the spot on acting with a lot of the things. The scenes were just well done. There was no real scene that I felt where
Yeah, I was talking
They
about
were
that earlier where
overacting or
the
underacting.
actors of the original trilogy, those characters coming back, the actors still felt like those characters
Yeah,
after all these years.
They were the same people. It felt, even with Mark Hamill saying no lines, he was still Luke. Like, he didn't have to say anything. He was
Yeah,
still,
no, there was so
like,
much emotion in his
even
face.
just the emotion in his face alone, you're just like, you got the feeling like it wasn't, oh, it's Mark Hamill on screen. No, that's Luke.
That
which
was
was huge.
That was actually one of the points where I like felt like tears welling up. I was like, "Oh my god!"
And
Just
me
the
in
way
that
he
moment, I was
turned
just
around
like,
and
no,
looked,
no,
I
no,
was
no,
like,
no, no,
"Oh."
don't cut it off. Say something. Say something. Say something. Say something. Cuts off.
No, he wasn't gonna say anything.
Rada.
I kind of knew he wouldn't.
Now for the next thing. Do you want to discuss the villains of the movie first, or the new hero-heroine thing?
I was just gonna talk about the stuff we liked. I
Well,
don't
we
think
just-
we have enough time to talk about
I think
every
I
character.
think we can talk about, in general what we liked about each of them. Some things we noticed.
All right, I guess. The new main character, Rey, kicks ass.
She
I
does.
like her.
She
She's like
was
one of my
very
new favorite
interesting. She was a
characters.
well thought out character. And Finn, the name aside, felt like a realistic thing with how his character developed. And I kind of
He
think
started out as kind of a coward, but then he became.
he started coming into his own. But also, when you think about it, if I don't remember correctly, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, please. I actually would appreciate it. But not many non-force wielders are really able to wield lightsabers, at least aside from the Mandalorians, as far as I know. Like, there are not really many that can wield those type of weapons. And he was able to, although not amazingly, he was still able to. Which kind of makes me think, there's going to be something involving that.
I mentioned that as well. I was like, okay, who's running the First Order or whatever they're called, and why aren't they doing blood tests on all of the orphans that they are kidnapping?
these Metachlorian guys.
Yeah, because you could be kidnapping a Jedi, and that's probably why he had those second thoughts about killing and stuff. I don't know.
It was definitely...
Whoever's running this joint is stupid.
Well, obviously they hinted that dude being a bit of a dumbass anyway. But all smart, evil, but also every smart person can have a bit of a dumbass side to him. I mean, honestly, I have my dumbass moments too, where I should be inserting my foot directly into my mouth and going. "Rrrr."
But general things that I liked, this movie did a lot of show not tell, where you really felt it, like with Finn, even at the very beginning when he was having second thoughts.
It wasn't.
It was a pretty powerful
spoken.
scene because, yeah, there was a lot of moments that I really liked in this movie where there's no dialogue and all of it is just told through the
Not for a
acting.
Star Wars movie, if you think about it.
And, like, the scene with Finn at the very beginning when he's a stormtrooper, the guy next to him gets shot down, and he's
Presumably
just,
a
like,
friend or
holding
something.
him, and the friend just goes like this, and, like, there's blood
And
there
it,
so
and it
that
was
you
just
can see the
you.
difference.
You could almost behind the stormtrooper mask just see the horror on his face, which even behind the mask, being able to accurately portray that.
Yeah,
That was
I thought that was cool.
was impressive.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how that he develops as a character in the next movie. Hopefully, because right now he's unconscious and lying on a bed. Now for Kylo Ren, her words with it, we figured them out in the end.
Wait, I didn't get to talk about my other show, Don't Tell scene that I really liked.
Okay.
The one with Leia.
Speak.
After Han gets killed, like, they could have done something to, like, really hammer it in that, you know, she kind of felt him passing because she's one with the Force or whatever, but, like, she didn't say he's gone or anything. She didn't say anything. She just kind of, like, sits down slowly and looks really sad.
Yeah, it
and,
was
like,
a sudden
you can tell that she knows, and then
that she
when
lost her
Rey
husband and her
comes
son.
back to the base,
You could tell she wanted to
they
say
just
something.
they don't say anything though. They
It was
just
just-
go up to each other and they embrace, and it was like that. I love stuff like that.
No words needed to be exchanged in that moment. They both realized each other knew, and it was just, I know, you know, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry too. I'm sorry you had to be there and do these things. Now, for Kylo Ren, as a villain, as a Sith Lord, normally they're cold. They're cold or just super aggressive. Or
This guy is very childish.
Yes,
there were several times
incredibly.
where he had kind of temper tantrums,
see,
where he took out his
kind of.
lightsaber and was like,
Kind of. It was. What?
Easy.
Sorry, I went all JonTron there for a second. My apologies.
But yeah, he definitely has some emotional issues. And that kind of came across, I know one of my boss's gripes was that the movie didn't have very good fight scenes.
Yeah.
But the reason for that is that
He was immature.
No, not only that. Rey has no training.
With a lightsaber.
Yeah,
And
so she's fighting being untrained, and then
Nor did
Kylo
Finn.
Ren is fighting completely unfocused because he's
Completely
letting
distracted, letting the thoughts
anger
of his father, the anger,
and desperation
and the pain, and all the different things are all hitting him at once.
Yeah, and they're clouding his focus.
He was definitely, as a character,
Yes.
not weak in the per se as a character as weak, but as in, you know, like Kylo Ren kicked butt. Han Solo, that moment when he turned aside, it's just like boom, 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 just straight, doesn't even need to look, boom, done. Don't care about you.
Yeah, Han Solo was Hawkeye.
Definitely, that was an awesome moment. Kylo Ren, emotionally unstable and very vulnerable and weak, but very key to his character. That was his character, and it still made for a viable villain. But he was a weak villain, which we don't see often, so it was definitely odd. Also, the odd choice to
He's
do
an
a pretty
internal
boy thing.
struggle, like,
Yeah.
villain. And I want to talk about that too. There's lots of symbolism with him because at the beginning of the movie he's wearing the mask and stuff, but he takes it off several times during the movie.
During key
And that
points.
shows vulnerability.
And you
Because
don't see that.
The first time he takes it off is when Ray kind of taunts him, and of course, being very childish, he takes the bait and he's like, "Oh, well, this is what I look like,"
And then with his father, although personally she feels it was him baiting for it, I feel it was him baiting his father, taking off the mask like, "Yeah, Daddy, it's me. It's your son. Here's the face."
Well, no, I
now."
think that just it's symbolic of his vulnerability because he is struggling between the dark side and the light side.
He's not able to really choose. However, with this most recent, the ending to that,
because when he completely goes over to the dark side, he'll probably wear the mask a lot.
It was definitely a switch that flipped near the end there. He definitely had
And
fear.
there's symbolism for that too, because Darth Vader had scars and stuff underneath his armor. Now Kylo Ren also has a scar.
Well, more than just underneath his armor, he has some definite pieces missing.
You know what I mean?
Yes, and he definitely has a fear of her. Like, there was definite, like, in his eyes, he was like,
well, yeah, if she's this powerful without any
training, if she's this strong, which, let's just use this as a segue into the next part, the theories. I think she's Luke's daughter. I think she is. She doesn't think Luke fucked.
Jedi are not allowed to have sex. They're not allowed. We saw what happened with Anakin.
When you look at Luke, at the end of that final movie, he's more in between than strictly Jedi. And he's more of a gray. And I could see that with that character. I could see him being Grey Jedi also being, if you are big in the fandom, it's somebody who's both the Sith and the Jedi, but neither or. But still more toward
having
the side
characteristics of both.
Characteristics of both, but neither being both. Luke showing obviously more signs toward the good. He obviously had those hormones and things like that. That was not trained out of him. I believe he honestly had a kid. And her being left alone on that planet in clothes that obviously were reminiscent of some kind of Padawan-ish Jedi sort of thing. Sort of. Because obviously the outfits have changed over time. But there was definitely some reminiscence there. And I feel that he hid her there because what's better? Being not seen and not known about at all? Or being around people that are fighting the Empire and possibly spies going after them? Because honestly, the Rebel Alliance had problem with spies. If the Emperor was able to fit spies in and just have his spies die willingly to give the information, I don't think it's that hard for there to be other spies within the rebellion during that incident. I don't really think that's not that hard of a thing to happen.
It's not the fact that he could have had a kid. I just don't see Luke as the type of character who would leave his daughter on a freaking junkyard planet to essentially become a slave.
Yeah, you kind of have a point there,
There
but
are
also
better options.
there are better options, but there's also, honestly, when you think about that, that would be a great way to hide her. And maybe we'll see that next movie. Theories for the next movie starting?
In that, it's taking a gamble because he didn't know that she would survive that kind of situation.
To be fair, did Obi-Wan know Luke would survive on Tatooine?
He was being raised by people. This girl was all by herself and had to scrounge.
Very far. No, she was left in the care of that one dude, and that one dude changed over time. She was left in
They never
care.
showed that he actually cared for her. They just showed that she
Him
had been
holding
spending...
her.
He was grabbing her hand and dragging her. That's not care. It's basically like, okay, you got sold off to me, so let's get you to work.
Well, yeah, but she was still had something was you're gonna take care of your property. You're gonna take care of your property. Do you want you just spent a bunch of money on something, or are you gonna let it get destroyed easily?
I don't
You're
know.
gonna take care of it.
We'll
At least to an
find out
extent.
in the next movie.
We'll find out in the next movie. Speaking of which, theories for the next movie? I think one, it's either gonna start out with a star battle scene and segue into Padawan training, or Finn
Waking
Waking
up
up.
from a coma.
waking up from his wounds and being, "Where's Rey?" And then just segueing into that.
Yeah, I think the second one's more likely because that's just the perfect way to segue. It'll just be like, "Where's Rey?" and then play dramatic music like, "Yeah," and then it'll cut to the training.
Definitely. Any thoughts you have it starting up on the next movie? Or
Well,
you're pretty
obviously
much
we're gonna
aligned?
have the text scroll.
Well, yeah. Well, spoiler alert, there's a text scroll in a Star Wars movie. Spoiler
Oh,
alert,
God.
the credits are in blue.
Oh yeah, Andy Serkis is in this movie as the new Emperor. I don't know. Did they mention his name?
They mentioned it, but it was not as memorable. But at the same time,
That's my other gripe.
You saw him like twice.
That
you
is-
didn't see him as much. He was not the key focus.
That's my other gripe. This new Emperor is just what I'm going to call him because that's
The
basically
Supreme
what he
Leader.
is. Yeah, whatever. He just doesn't have as much of a presence as the Emperor does. He just isn't as intimidating as he is, and I don't know if that's just the way it's acted or the CGI or what.
It could be a number of things. I mean, we haven't seen the actual character. All we've seen is holograms. I'm still leaving it up in the air because we didn't see much of him in all in the movie. I mean, for something that big, I think the focus was more on Kylo Ren and introducing the new characters.
Well, yeah,
and
I mean,
the
it
next
is
movie
just the
will
first
be
movie.
definitely very big on that.
It was like that in the original trilogy too. You didn't really see much of the Emperor
Yeah,
at first.
until like the second movie, right? You see him in the second movie, right?
Yeah, when he's talking to Darth Vader.
Yeah, you actually see him in that moment, and you see him in the third. I'm saying second
Definitely
and third, but
in
I
the
mean
third.
5 and 6. But closing thoughts about the movie. Honestly, I'd give this movie a solid 7.5, maybe an 8.0 in my opinion, out of a 10-point scale. You?
Yeah, 8.0.
Okay, so solid 8.0 out of us combined. Anyway, this has been...
Oh, wait. We didn't talk about the homages to the original.
Oh, yes. That was actually one of my biggest loves.
Control yourself. Control yourself.
I'm sorry, I activated my trigger.
Yeah, I loved the homages.
The homages were perfect. That flight scene through the Star Destroyer at that that beginning point, kind of, just all the little ways, the way the reactor was destroyed there at that point, that was a perfect homage also to the Death Star Destroyer sequence. Like, even Han Solo's death was an homage to the Emperor's death and Ben's death. Like, everything kind of hinted that they were paying an homage to the original in a way, but weren't ripping it off, you know?
Yeah, one of my favorites, it kind of caught me off guard, was when Rey was scrounging for parts to sell off so that she could get food. Yeah. There was an AT-AT on that planet that she was taking parts from, and I was like,
well, actually,
that's
no,
pretty
that
cool.
was what she was living in, I think. I think that was the thing she was living
was she
inside
living
of.
in it?
Yeah, I think that was what she was living inside of.
She was taking parts from a lot of, like, old vehicles and stuff from the
Old
original
Empire
trilogy.
stuff and just using
Yeah.
that to sell for food and things like that.
And because of that, and they don't really... This is another example of show don't tell. Because she spent her entire life scrounging for parts, she learned a lot about machines and vehicles and stuff, and so she can fly basically
Han
anything.
Solo's just
He was
reaction
impressed.
to things. It was just like, hey, do you want to work for me? And at the end, it's hey, Chewie's working for you. It's now your ship. Which, obviously, at this point, it's now her ship. It's Ren's ship. It's not Han Solo's ship anymore.
Yeah.
Although in my heart, it'll always be Han's ship. Han!
Yes, we're all very sad.
But, yes, those are our thoughts on it. 8.0. Loved it. I'm honestly planning on taking my mom to go see it because if my stepdad doesn't take her to see it, which he likely won't, he's not big into comic books, anything of the sort, but my mom was part of the influence that got me into it, and I want her to see it. Just as I'm sure you want your dad to be able to see it. Right? That was a yes. Anyway, this has been...
This is also in the movie.
Oh. When he... That was true. That was a
BB-8 is adorable.
BB-8 is adorable. when he's just like, look, can you get just dude, bro, beat a bro, look, I will get you there. And he's like,
He just looks back and forth.
And he's just like, when she looks away, it's like
thanks.
this, and then the little robot's just like, little lighter comes out and she's like,
Yeah, it looks like a thumbs up. It was adorable.
It was perfect and adorable. I loved every moment. And now, for the umpteenth time, because we've kept you guys around here for 46 minutes now.
There's a lot to talk about from this movie.
It's an awesome movie. And we're going to see next one, and I might go and see this movie again on my own.
Better not.
Anyway, it's been Off-Zero Films.
And Steel Fairy.
Peace.
Or not. You decide.